Welcome to Illuminated, Ancestors, Kinship, Love. Presented and produced by the Sinclair Community College Theater Department, just a few miles away from the Paul Laurence Dunbar House. During the last month, 5 young actors in Sinclair's theater program celebrated Black voices through 15 poems written by living and ancestor poets. I am Sierra Leone, the director.
And I am Furaha, Henry Jones, the poetry curator. We welcome you into this short film, and we hope it helps you to experience through a poetic lens what it means to create, receive, and be the light in the midst of pandemic, racial upheaval, and economic strife. Please watch, leave comments, and share. The Sinclair Theater Department appreciates your support and encouragement.
And now, Illuminated, Ancestors, Kinship, Love.
I bless the spirit of my head. I bless the spiritual energy of my head. I bless my spiritual vision that I may see my way clearly. I bless my eyes that I may see truth in my life. I bless every breath that enables my life to be sustained by spirit. I bless my ears that I may recognize and follow the guidance of my spirit. I bless my ability to speak truth of spirit, to affirm the guidance of spirit, to give thanks for the blessing of spirit. I bless my unique identity as an expression of the Creator, making me an expression of divinity. I bless the spirit of my head to protect me through this day. Ancestor, breath, bridge, carry us over tumultuous time. You who can hear and answer with quick remedy, ready before we ask. You who can speak through tongues of trees and fire and water. Earth cannot hold you. We pound the ground and you appear. O ancient ones, you who can make lightning strike with the flick of a skirt. You who can make tornado turn with the spin and span of hips. Take us there, to the place of knowing the hall that leads to the doorway of you. O holy ones, you of the first light. You who know the potential of possibility pulsing in the dark. You who have sunlight in your fingertips, touch our drums. Make us hear the rising. Make us move a steady stomp. Acquire voices so majestic, heaven hides us in a tapestry of light. We are stars, blankets of wonder, sky-bright eyes, seeing the invisible, visible. You who have returned, you who have turned our faces to see ourselves, and we have found you again, in places we would have never imagined. You make our limits infinitely long, our visions clear with eyes closed, and even there, you still stand in full color, vibrant, and eager to serve.
It is not easy to speak to greatness. Sisters, living in the Spirit, graciously grateful, patient by nature, brave-hearted matriarchs exemplifying an intrinsic constitution, defying universal subdivision. Worship, unconditional commitment passed down through matrilineal descendants, sacred beings bearing precious gifts of kindness rooted deep in their paternal family trees, a blessing's blessing, bestowed with the compassion to convert fertile soil of future deeds into inspiration for the entire human race. Sisters who have stared fortitude in the face, most days the Creator carries the weight. Deliberate creations, never allowing the pains of life to compromise dedication. Authentic trailblazers, with hearts that are superior to time and space. You are the rhythm, voices voicing liberation, evolving ethnographic shade of centuries past, protector of all living origins, catalyst and root of the movement, scar and motivation of an unnamed nation, the universal's universe soulmate, daughters rising from the dust.
The unripe cherry tomatoes, miniature red chili peppers, and small bursts of sweet basil and sage in the urban garden. Just outside our third-floor fire escape, might not yield seasoning for a single meal or two, but it works wonders as a natural analgesic in a way past monotony of bricks and concrete. The hum of the neighbor's TV back to the secret garden we planted on railroad property when I was just a boy. I peer into the window, searching for that look on Mama's face, where she kicked off her shoes, dug her toes into the dirt, teeming with corn, greens, potatoes, onions, cabbage, and beets. Bit into the flesh of a ripe tomato, then passed it down the row. Enjoying our own fruit, we let the juice touch our chins, leaving tiny seeds to harvest on hungry days like these. I feel like as a culture, Black people needs to give thanks to their ancestors because they laid the pathway to where we are at now.
Earth, I thank you for the pleasure of your language. You've had a hard time bringing it to me. From the ground to grunt through the noun, to all the way. Feeling, seeing, smelling, touching. Awareness, I am here.
Mae Jemison flew her maiden voyage and now won't comb her hair. The first Black woman in space has gone up straight away, come down crooked mad, refuses to straighten up, and sometimes can be seen standing very curly at her window, speaking first in Russian, Japanese, and at last Swahili. Willingly, she flew into the lunar dust of some other civilization, eagerly raised her hand, precisely calculating the particle matter of a zooming Aegis star. She did all that and more, but the mission specialist won't come back and comb. Not another strand, she promises, as she hands over most of what she brought back. Grandmother Say Angelus, she saw the great black beyond when she was there. My astronaut says she liked the outer reaches of black space, enjoyed the dark, out of control spinning air. The others that went along returned with a picture or two. But the mission specialist, with the degree in African American studies, who speaks the world's languages, doesn't wish to run the risk and ever be mistaken as a tourist in a galaxy homeland. She has gone to the beyond and is now her only journey left. And with all praises from hair that snaps and locks, why, she's as out of control as her follicles, and the Wheaties box floats away as a possibility out somewhere in space, knowing it cannot have her. Kellogg's would never be sure of what her hair might want to do. From this day to that, black hair on a black head of a Black woman astronaut, been to visit her sky ancestors, is so future and unpredictable. Mae Jemison antennaed herself back to her very own future somewhere on her maiden voyage line. She intersected with the African bone of the galaxy and now wishes to be more than an acquaintance of herself for the rest of her time here on this scrambled egg of a planet. She will do her work, but will not experiment with her hair. This she knows for true cosmogony is an absolute curly science. There are confirmed signs she has indeed been bitten by something strange and lifelong. The talking seed of all the planets has been pinched back into her insides now by a cobalt blue woman vacationing on the moon who knew she was coming and couldn't let her fly all that way and not be made a dimpled daughter of the dog and dust. Rosemary old moons grow inside the belly of Mae Jemison, astronaut queen, and her recently tangled eyes give her an oceanic view from the speckled air that will never let her comb herself back down again. Afrolantis, cosmogony, is so high, black, and exact. It is a Black woman's science, this peppery space. Of course, now they can't let her out of her sight, now that she won't go back and comb. Now that she's connected forever, national security could not stand to know what it is we curly ones keep saying only to each other. Jemison, she's at the window again. I can't make it out. The language and hair, just like hers. They'll tell her she'll forever need permission from now until to ascend the borders of space. May I, the astronaut who let her hair go back to where her eyes had already been, to what her mind had already knew. May I is granted. What I love about the theater department is how funny everyone is, like how constantly everyone's making jokes, and yeah.
It is not the way she sits with her legs open like a man, her left arm resting on her knee, her fingers gripping a cigarette when she is angry. Nor is it her distinct smile that she conceals when bothered by the absence of her first premolar teeth, nor the jadedness of her feet as she still pushes on. Sundays she'd soak her sores, scraping away dead skin, but years of consecrated hard labor can't be removed. A victim, with the weight of right now on her shoulders. I remember how during the week she'd pound the pavement, work back-breaking. She never measured strain to a day's pay. I wanted to say, Mama, why do you work this way? Tired and in pain? But I knew she'd just say, Child, my soul can't rest when y'all children are in need. She was birthed into a family where mothers allowed their daughters to discover womanhood for themselves, and self-validating feelings were enveloped. If she could ever let go, tomorrow will not be the same day with a different name. After one time, there is another. So why won't she buy herself a car that works? Because she does. She tries. 6 kids in all, 2 from a sister who is not quite thankful. But I love looking into her eyes. Smooth mocha skin leaves me wondering if I will age as well as she. The beauty that comes from struggle accents her demeanor like when the food is low, or clothes pile the floor and no one is claiming the duty. Never bothered by trivial things. But you wake her when she is sleeping if you want to meet her evil streak. I love her. I'm sure I do, especially when that younger, wild side mother hides, seeps through an old school jam or to the bass of some upbeat tune, just sways through her shoulders, pulsates her legs, forcing that 20-year-old girl who buried her dreams in the beats of tunes still sweeps her off her feet. I love to see her on those days. Although there are far few in between, I love to see her on those days. I'm sure I do. First time I got on the stage, I felt like I was home in my room, just like dancing to my favorite song. And when I saw my first show, I was like, I actually saw it at Sinclair, and I said to myself, this is what I want to do. I saw The Wiz, and I'm like, I want to be Dorothy.
Somewhere, someone's uncle or father, a man wearing sandals and khaki shorts, who says, back in my day, far too often, is on the grill. He is watching the food like he's afraid he'll change his mind about being a meal and decide to run off when no one's looking. The kids are playing a game they made up themselves and changing the rules every 5 minutes. Their smiles are so big you can fit history inside them and have room for right now and the future. The adults hate all the new music, but still want the teenagers to teach them all the dances. The Cupid Shuffle is common ground, and the Wobble is a peace treaty signed by both generations. There are no rallies today. No blood on this street. No hashtags here. But there is barbecue, potato salad, and greens. The only tears you'll see when someone lifts the foil and all the mac and cheese is finished.
An amoeba is lucky it's so small. Else its narcissism would lead to war. Since self-love seems so frequently to lead to self-righteousness, I suppose a case could be made that there are more amoebas than people, that they comprise the physical majority, and therefore the moral right. But luckily, amoebas rarely make television appeals to higher gods and baser instincts. So one must ask if the ability to reproduce oneself frequently has anything to do with love. The night loves the stars as they play about the darkness. The day loves the light, caressing the sun. We love those who do, because we live in a world requiring light and darkness, partnership and solitude, sameness and difference, the familiar and the unknown. We love because it's the only true adventure. I'm glad I'm not an amoeba. There must be more to all our lives than ourselves. And our ability to do more of the same.
What I love about the stage is that as soon as you get on there, you can just be whoever you want to be. You can feel the energy of the stage and those around you. And I just love that energy so much. It kind of influences me to bring my own energy to the game. And I just really love that feeling so much. And honestly, I could feel that feeling forever if I could.
Sympathy by Paul Lawrence Dunbar.
I know what the cage bird feels, alas,
When the sun is bright on the upland slopes,
when the wind stirs soft through the springing grass and the river flows like a stream of glass.
when the first bird sings and the first bud opes, and the faint perfume from its chalice steals,
I know what the cage bird feels.
I know why the cage bird beats his wing till its blood is red on the cruel bars.
For he must fly back to his perch and cling when he fain would be on the bough a swing.
And the pain still throbs in the old, old scars, and they pulse again with a keener sting. I know why he beats his wing.
I know why the cage bird sings, ah me, when his wing is bruised and his bosom sore, when he beats his bars and he would be free.
It's not a carol of joy or glee, but a prayer that he sends from his heart's deep core, but a plea that upward to heaven he flings.
I know why the cage bird sings.
I know while the caged bird sings.
In one of my earliest memories, I'm 8 years old. I have a fistful of afternoon, and I'm asking the summer if it will always be this glorious.
I remember taking a deep breath, trying to get as much July into my lungs as humanly possible, and thinking maybe I'd be able to convince myself that 31 days just isn't enough.
In
my
my
neighborhood.
Owning a slip and slide made you a royal family.
In my neighborhood, we filled up our super soakers, shoot each other for hours. If you didn't have one, you were just a target.
In my neighborhood,
we'd run through sprinklers like someone who wasn't the boss of us said we couldn't. Back then, the water seemed endless. Like it didn't have limits, and corners and edges. Like no matter where we were, if we called out for water, it would always come running.
When I was a kid, dragons and droughts were two things I read about in books, but never thought I actually had to deal with.
I was born and raised in California. And here, our models and rivers look like they're on the same diet. Throughout the years, I watched them get smaller. And now, I can see their ribs when they exhale.
In California, our freeways are decorated with signs that ask us to be careful about how we use the water. They hang like an eviction notice from the environment. I wonder how long it'll take the planet to tell us we can't live here and the locks are changed.
I wonder how long it'll be before
My shower becomes a relic.
before my sink tries to change occupations,
Before the knobs on my faucet become
roulette wheels, before my hands rain dance.
around the spout, hoping the drop will spill from.
Its neck. I wonder if the next generation,
Will know water the way I did,
the way it runs through the fingers,
the way it wrinkles the hands,
cools the skin, the way it freezes
flakes and kisses the ground.
on the cheek.
I wonder if my grandkids will
Ever throw a penny in a fountain.
and hear it splash.
Thunderous vibrations come from the center of Grand Avenue. In my ears, discomfort, but in his, joy. That man waiting at the intersection, riding the purple and green Buick, rims coruscating a sunbeam in my eyes. He and his machine stand there, blasting music, new subwoofers calmly shivering. Why are his windows rolled? Why is his volume twisted to its limit? Because he loves it enough that it doesn't hurt him? These lyrics that play are his life in the moment. My mind's living on cloud 9, and this 9 is never on vacation. Because it bounces his seat, rattles his bones, it makes him feel, doesn't he deserve this? My dream is to be an inside film and, be a part of, type of production, and, theater was my option here, and I think I made a wonderful choice. I'm just looking to grow and learn as much as I can and get out into the world and, write a story for people.
Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life? I had no model. Born in Babylon, both non-white and woman, what did I see to be except myself? I made it up here on this bridge between starshine and clay, my one hand holding tight the other. Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed.
Squad, my squad. There ain't no other like it. There'll be no other like it. Team, my team. At the house playing video games with countless hours being dashed away into the void that is time. An audience circles around a portal to another realm with our only link to it, 4 game picture. Every attack is followed with smattering of trash talk and amazement. Electric bolts of excitement strike through us with each victory. Scorpion vs. Sub-Zero. Captain Falcon vs. Ganondorf. A portal with infinite reality. Unit, my unit. The craziest and best conversations are held within these circles, with laughter so loud it borderlines obnoxiousness at times, but devil may care. Friend, my friend. The quakes of life may shake our base from time to time. What matters is, do we have strong enough support not to crumble when they do strike? Say what you will about the lone wolf, but who will be there to help rebuild his wreckage when disaster arrives? From simple breakup to shattering divorce, we shall not crumble. But there is no one like us. There'll be no one like us. Because my brothers are my brothers.
Baltimore boy, I celebrate your youthful courage and your mother's knowing ways. Take this platform and educate. Friends laugh, mockers call you names, but it's your choice. Pick up a brick, or better yet, a government policy book. You are a leader. Never mind the public baptism your mom gave. You are fresh air to burden birth battles. Voice of your generation, pulpit them charm city streets. Evangelize your peers, vibrate a message that will last long after the riots end. Courageous, brave, young black male. Leave the repugnant and bitter hindrance of denial right where you found it. The invisible hand of due process versus budding self-endorsed solutionary is the spirit of discernment riding on the wings of anger. Let the windstorm of frustration and hate birth 21st century lobbyists and decision makers. Young people, you have a right to be here. Remember, foundation work is imperative.
Though tattered and tired, you, still glorious and worthy of our praise. Double X marks the spot. You healer, you shaman, you dreamer, you sorceress, you mama, you medicine maker, you mambo, and priestess. They tried to keep you silent in the midst of their hypocrisy, tried to lull you to sleep with the cadence of their mediocrity, tried to bury your body beneath their misogyny. They wanted you dead, wanted your shrines driven underground, wanted your altars of vanishing vestige, wanted you long forgotten. And how silly their attempts, because for every one they try to take, another billion rise, stronger, more resilient, more beautiful, more remembered, and absolutely unafraid.
The world is a puzzle of misfit pieces,
wounds, crying for healing, brokenness in planet Earth. We pout, protest, pray for the sealing of sores, the end of agony, a vaporizing of garbage in oceans, on land, in scared hearts and toxic thinking because pieces do not fit. Land set off divorce. Pangea, one big mass before the continental divide, but like any organization, began to drift. Pieces shift. See where certain pieces might connect. African to South American, Australian to New Mexico too. But science says rock formations in these land masses still match after a millennium of drifting. Same as Arctica and Antarctica. Though those ice castles melt as Earth speaks, shakes, howls in hurricanes. How hard to see pieces fit. How people fit. So many do not, but could. Textures, sleek as silk, warm as wool, colors a riotous mosaic of tones on skin, blue, black, and ebony, a cocoa mix from caramel to buttercream produced by the intermingle of master and African servant. Deep toasted tones from tribes of Canada to Mexico to Australia's outback. Skin transparency, lucidity of Russia and Icelandia, Anglos and Saxons. My friend Jose with his all-seeing eye. Set of all Asians and Indians, Latinos, Jews, and Africans. If you really look at all of us, we all look alike. Adjust for skin color. Occasional oddities, I think he's right. When I see two eyes, one nose, two lips, ears on the side, various configurations of hair, still, there's this puzzling piece, that ism of race that doesn't fit. Baby in cage doesn't fit. Mass incarceration doesn't fit. Still, that puzzling piece, that ism of race doesn't fit. Brave, strong warriors, wild, bold women's in odd pockets of world history, but though a White House remains his story, that ism of sex doesn't fit. Baby in cage doesn't fit. Mass incarceration doesn't fit. Or I just don't like you because you disagree with me. You challenge me. You won't answer me, won't answer sufficiently to me. Don't worship at all or won't worship like me doesn't fit. Nor despair. See, I find relief in prayer and I anger when we stop caring or loving or hugging or speaking or asking, are you in pain? How can I help? Call me if you need me. Do you need me? Can I help you? That fits. Compassion fits. Love still fits.
Sierra, look at us, two poets in
Yes.
Dunbar's house, Dunbar's hometown.
Yes, indeed.
Man, uplifting Black voices. I'm so happy right now.
It just is special. You know, it's unique, and it's one of the things that we really wanted to move beyond the novelty of it being in a particular frame or box. And I think this is the best way to just move it and integrate it into the general conversation of what it is to be American. It also is that
Right.
same very thing to be Black or to celebrate whatever culture it is. And in this case, we're honored and lucky for it to be and esteemed enough for it to be Black culture and Black voice given the times
Yes.
that we are living in, and given what has already been needed and should have been and should always be honored along with everything else that is American history.
Yeah. I was so excited when the theater department asked me if I would locate some poetry. So excited that Man, I had stacks upon stacks upon stacks of poems, and to bring it down to kind of say, what do we want to present here was a real challenge, but it was so exciting. Like, I loved every moment of it.
Who did you leave out? You must tell me at least two or three.
Okay,
two
yes.
or three.
All right. Man, this was hard. I left out Haki Madhubuti.
Okay.
And that was difficult because, I mean, Black arts movement, how do you represent that without him? But my hope was to include, folks who were integral parts of the Black arts movement. It would pique folks' interest, the audience interest. And if you look up Nikki Giovanni and read something by her, you're gonna come across Haki Madhubuti,
Yes, indeed, you are.
Yeah.
And just the Third World Press. And I think if we're looking at someone like Haki Madhubuti, his work lives in so much of everything that we do.
Yeah.
And the press is still alive. So,
Yes,
you know what I mean? So
right.
it's like, I think, I wondered if it was him, if he was one of the poets that we wanted to celebrate and we chose to. And I think in some ways, some of the pieces that you chose when you said, hey, I'm going to go with this, a voice that is 17.
Yes.
I'm going to go with what I know someone like Haki Madhubuti would really appreciate. He would really adore, because his mother of poetry is Gwendolyn Brooks, so she already instilled that completely, I think, in his reflection of the world, his reflection of the work. So I think that that's very special. So for you, why did you choose or select this or curate this particular body of poetry? What was your process?
Well, I basically created a question in my mind, and I said, all right, to celebrate Black voices in poetry, if there's a thread, if there is, one theme that's kind of putting it all together, what is that poetic thread? And that was really a hard thing to do, because we're so varied and we're so different. We come from so many different parts of the world and different backgrounds and across time, past, present, and I do not neglect the future. So I just, every time I read a poem, I'd go back to the question, what do these poems have in common? And so there were certain themes that rose to the top for me.
Okay.
And, they're represented in the title of the poem, Kinship. I was recently watching a film, Between the World and Me. Taking Ta-Nehisi Coates' essays, and which they're essays, or it's, a memoir, but it feels like poetry.
It did.
But one thing that was said in that film was, we made ourselves a people. It was a line that was in there. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that idea of kinship, connection, union, out of any kind of darkness or pain, we are still bringing ourselves together as a people. And I saw that in the poetry. I see it also as a thread that connects African American literature, period, in general. But that was one of the threads. And I also wanted something that was really taking the past by the hand and holding a hand to the future.
That's truly Sankofa.
Absolutely. That was at the root.
Yeah. And I think that without you ever saying that, it became, that is what sparked Illuminated. Because I was having a conversation with Nate, and we were sort of going back and forth with this idea of, we don't even need to say the word Black voice.
Right.
What we need to say is illuminated.
Mm-hmm.
Because love is not a color.
Mm-hmm.
Kinship is not a color. I mean, of course, the ancestor is a color of whatever spirit. But we were looking more for ancestor from the angle of spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're looking at those three things, that's illuminated. That's
Right.
light.
Right.
And it was, without even having that conversation with you or knowing where you were coming from, you were saying, we are a people. Or what was the line?
We made ourselves a people.
We made ourselves a people. You were speaking from coming from this pain into this lightness without me even realizing that was at the root of it. It was just illuminated, like from every single angle, from every single perspective, from, when you're looking at Rudy Francisco's work, you know what I mean? That is, or you're looking at, from that space of Rudy's work, when we're looking at, what is the piece he did, Cookout, that, I mean, it was, but just that one line.
Yes.
There are no rallies today.
Yeah.
And then to get down to the root of it with the macaroni and cheese, the real root.
Yes, yes.
Culture.
Right, right.
It was so powerful, but from a lens that, an approach maybe we would have never even taken. So youthful. Just still, just not calloused and just frustrated with what life has become quite yet.
Right.
And it was just beautiful looking at pieces like that. Yeah. What else has come up, or do you have any questions for me?
Okay, all right. So what I want to know, because I am not a theater person. I appreciate theater. I love theater. I love, being theater adjacent. But those of you who are like behind the scenes and creating and directing and doing all that stuff, I just want to know what's in your mind. So I want to know, when you first kind of got the poems, you received them and you read through them, what rose to the top, what feelings rose to the top, what thoughts rose to the top, and how did you go about putting some of these works are written works and some are spoken works. How did you go about getting that to the stage in the way that it's been done?
I think first off, it's just really recognizing that it's a collaborative effort. It takes so many moving parts. It took, just realizing that first, don't look at this work because I know these poems, because I've read these poems, or maybe seen one or two of these poets perform their poem, or a poem here in this body of work. Not looking at it that way and saying, this is all new. I've never seen this work. Even work of mine that's included. This is not mine anymore. This work belongs to these 5 students. And how will I tell their story? Through the lens of voice, because that's all poetry is doing. For us, as we're finding that rhythm and that connection to our inner story, because it's no matter how much knowledge, no matter how much education you have, you can apply those things, but if you really want to live it, it's going to come from within.
Right.
And I knew for this experience to be what it could possibly be, what it would take, one, is a group of folks who wanted to see that, which was the students themselves, which was Rodney, Veal, which was Gina, and saying that we're in a pandemic. We're working in a space where the students can't be together. So many things that we would want to do, we can't do.
Right.
And we had Brian, the young man from the department as well, who was a great tech on the piece, and just including and giving ideas, contributing along the way. There were a lot of private rehearsals with myself and the students, but in those private moments, I was able to find them in each piece. And when you can find the student, when you can find the actor, the human, what it is they're really looking to do and to heal, then you're putting them in a position to own the poem. Yes, Frank X wrote Homeopathic. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
But right now, I need to figure out how Kasaahn can embody or ripe cherry tomatoes, or what it is to grow a garden, even if he has never lived that experience.
Right.
How do we embody that? How do we bring that alive? Or Mari, who did the piece about her mother, about the mothers. After one time, there's another. And her really being able to see the beauty that is in that struggle of mothering, you know, to come to a different level of resolve of all of the judgments we spew at our parents. And not intentional, not anything mean, but just we judge them in our minds. And it's just what we do. But to see a piece of poetry then that's allowing her to realize my mother is not one-dimensional. She's not just mother.
Yeah.
She's all of these other things.
Right.
And I get to now see that through a poem, or like the student said, you know, goodness, I thought I was just coming here to read some poems.
Right.
I didn't know I was
Wow.
coming here to heal.
Yes.
I didn't know that poetry could do that. I didn't know this is a monologue. Or when you look at pieces like Solved, that really takes what she calls, you know, or is Pangea, this whole thing where it's,
Pangea, yes, yeah.
where it's all one. And to really see that's the world around us. And so for me, it was being willing to say, yes, I'm a poet. Yes, I know this works. Yes, I read this work, but I don't know it through these eyes.
And what was so beautiful watching it is some of their performances helped me see the poem in a different way.
Oh, they're going to love that.
Like, as a poet, you birth this poem and you see it in one way, but to have someone take the poem, put themselves in it, like you're saying, and then shine it back to us, and it's a different light. I was like, wow. And some of these poems, like you said, are kind of canonical. Like, I've read them and I've heard them performed in different ways, but some of these young actors brought something to it, and now I know you helped them bring themselves to it.
Yes.
That helped me to see them in a different way. So I have to thank the whole team for that, you know, the actors and you and Rodney and everyone on the team.
Yeah, and we invited a few of my own colleagues. I invited Aaron and Ayana to come in to just have another set of eyes. And, you know, when you look at May I, the piece that really gave us fits.
I know.
And it's like, I felt like she put this in here to just drive us mad.
I
you
did.
Know?
I did.
It drove Mackenzie mad. You
No,
know what I mean?
and
And Aaron really supported her and supported me with the
poem,
process.
That performance
was magnificent.
Amazing.
Yes.
I knew it's a poem to stretch.
Let me tell you. Let me just tell you that Mackenzie is so quirky and just so amazing. Just her gentleness and who she is and who she's becoming is so. It's in the moment. You know, she if she doesn't know, she'll say, I don't know. You know what I mean? Okay. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, so she's really direct with that knowing. If she's feeling it, I'm feeling it. If I'm not, And so with May I, what I found to be so magical and beautiful was Furaha. She wore braids. She had long braids in her hair along the process. And right before it was time for the show, she said, I'm going to take my braids out.
Wow.
And May I drove her into this inner connection to herself, where she then decided to wear a fro, her curl pattern, her inner connection to the universe and herself. And so it was like to see Nikki Finney's work just inspiring a whole nother generation to be themselves. It was so special.
I loved it so much.
And I mean, really it was special. And then they cared about the work, you know.
Good.
You know, when you're looking at the piece about being an amoeba, you know, for Leia, I mean, come on, Furaha, come on with this amoeba.
I know, but hey, look, Nikki Giovanni, sometimes people try to put her work into a particular box,
and you can't.
But you can't do it. And so that poem,
it showed us that. But when you really get underneath it to see how the poem really is looking at how the world viewed same-sex relationships, or how it viewed those who were being racist or prejudiced, that it was so much deeper. The amoeba really was just the embodiment of this prejudice, of this hate, of this separation. And so just in that knowing, for her to realize what love is, with Leia to realize that, and then to really celebrate, goodness, I'm not an amoeba. It's like to celebrate that.
I know she did it with joy too.
She did it with so much joy, and she did it with so much grace. And so for me, the pieces were wonderful. For Kasaahn to perform Sonny Patterson's piece, Ancestor Invocation, to see him connecting with his own ancestors, to see him connecting with what it is to be spiritual, and know that that's not a bad thing. That's your root. And that's a part of your story. You don't have to walk around and forget that you're on earth.
Right.
But you can take a minute to connect with something celestial or something bigger than yourself, or divine, or spiritual, or the way you see the world.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay if no one else around you is doing that. You're doing it. And in that moment, that's enough. For the pieces, they were wonderful. It was a joy to have Chiquita Mullins work in there. I'm not sure why you chose that piece, but we loved it. We did love it. And why did you choose Boost It? What was that about?
Oh gosh. So there's this anthology, Black Joy, and it's young Black male poets.
Julian
and that
Allen.
And that particular poem stood out to me because I could just see the action of it, and the musicality of the language reflected in the narrative of the poem just really stood out to me. And so that's, real reason why I picked that one.
And that's every summer in Dayton. Probably in so many other cities
and a
around
bunch
the
of
world.
other places too.
Around the world.
In my teenage years, I couldn't help but think about being a teenager and seeing somebody and going, huh.
Well, I tell you, I think this experience for the department, with the theater department, with having an opportunity to work with Rodney again, getting to pull in some of my theater buddies who we've done past projects with, and just knowing I knew that you would take the time to curate a body of work by looking at age and culture and lived experiences, and celebrating us here right in the region. And lastly, I'll ask, which I'm scared to a little to ask, why did you choose my poems? Because what made you select the pieces that you chose for my work?
Very honestly, I tried to pick a couple of anchors.
Okay.
Folks that if you listen to one poem by them, you really should kind of dive deep into some of their other work, and I consider you one of those poets. What I've spent, many years reading your work, listening to your work, and it's work I want my grandson to know.
Well, I thank you for that.
It means that much to me. And it's not just you individually, Sierra. It's artist Sierra who's bringing all of us into the work. That I can see it, many years from now, it being recited, and just like, Dunbar, man. I'm serious,
Well, I thank
poetic
you.
Connections.
Well, I thank you so much for that. I was surprised, and I tried to leave out the fact that I had written those pieces. I tried to leave it out of the story so they wouldn't connect it to me at first. And I kept trying to leave it out, or they were like kind of shy about performing it because the person who wrote it is here.
Well, I wanted,
and then we connected, and then they were able to begin to tap into what that felt like.
Yeah.
And then to use it as a resource. And then began to trade and learn and say, when you get the person who wrote something on all of your shows, if you get a chance to talk to them, quiz them, question them, get underneath the piece, grow as much as you can. And so when it got over that, it turned into something quite special and magical. So for us, Illuminated was a beautiful journey, and we thank you so much for curating work to be a part of it. I look forward to making so much magic as years to come, and we will continue to uphold African American actors and artists, poets, writers, those who are creatives, innovators, catalysts, and willing to do the work. And so as Sinclair's Poet Laureate, we thank you. We thank you so much.
Thank you, Sierra. So good to talk to you.
It's always good to talk to you, my friend.
Oh, Sierra, we haven't gotten to sit and talk for a long while.
I know. Cheers to this moment.